Hi, this is Simon at the Virtual Forge, back with another episode of Blog Talk. Sorry it's been so long, we've been really busy here. We've taken on a couple of new jobs, one with a fairly major automotive company, but that's meant that we've been away in Singapore, Frankfurt, and Warwick, doing workshops. We've also taken on a load of new staff, and that's why I'm stood out here. I've been relegated to outside in a really echoey meeting room that's got the same lighting as a Bonnie Tyler video. You'll see. I can't shoot in the normal place anymore. So today's subject is quite a contentious one, a little bit clickbaity as well. Why a fully formed, well-made plan can be a bad idea. Doesn't make sense, does it?
Occasionally, when a team starts a new project, they will sit down and look at the brief. They'll have a brainstorm with coffee and biscuits and post-its and whiteboard markers, and they'll make a big list of potential features or list the things that they think a user might need. This will be discussed with the client, and then once everyone's happy, this will be turned into the requirements document. The team will then go through this document and estimate how long it will take to implement each feature, how much it will cost. They'll work out when the team will have capacity to work on the project, identify milestones, add a bit of contingency and turn this into the project plan. This project plan then gets signed off by the client or product owner, and the team gets to work delivering that plan. They might build parts of the project in chunks, or they might just work towards delivering the final solution in one big delivery. This is effectively the waterfall approach to project delivery. Designers design the solution, developers develop it, it gets passed over to the test team who sends it back to the development team with any bugs which are promptly fixed. It gets sent to the client or product owner to be signed off before it's then launched into the world. It goes out on time and on budget. It's been the perfect execution. Sounds good so far, but it's at this point that you start looking at the analytics. You aren't getting the traffic you expected to your website, or people aren't paying for the premium version of your app. Technically, it all works and looks great. The problem is that nobody actually has a need for it. After all that planning and effort, after that flawless delivery, you are only now learning that the core concept was misguided. It offered an experience that your users didn't even need or want. This video looks at a methodology that addresses exactly this kind of scenario. We're talking about the Lean Startup methodology.
Now might be a good time to get one thing straight. Lean Startup is a slightly misleading name. Even though it's really good for creating a startup, it's not just for startups. It's also used by many large established companies to deliver new features and products to their services.
Lean Startup gives you a way to quickly work out if you're working on something that is actually useful for the users that you think will want to use it. It's all about developing a product almost purely on feedback from target users. So that's why you have me, a UX designer, talking about what could easily be seen as a project management methodology. In the Lean process, you make quick changes that mean development is done in rapid cycles, and at the end of each cycle, your users actually get to interact with what you've done. It's user experience design and testing on steroids. Lean methodology is based around a build, measure, learn feedback loop. The basic premise of this is that you build a minimum viable product, an MVP, which could be a very basic website, a clickable prototype, or even a video that explains to your target users what your offering is. You get a selection of your target audience using it, and you measure whether or not your idea worked, if your users are doing what you predict. If it does, you continue to develop the concept in the same way, repeating the build, measure and learn cycle. If you find that the idea doesn't work, that your users aren't engaging, then you change the direction. The direction that you decide to go in can be based on feedback that you've gathered, or could be another idea that you or your team have had. Throughout the build, measure, learn cycle, the key thing is that you constantly measure how successful what you're doing is. If you're not constantly trying to learn what your users need, then they're unlikely to want to use what you actually deliver. When you have a whole list of exciting features for your app or website planned, it's easy to skip over the testing and crack on with making them come to life. You're so sure that your concept will work that you plough on with what you'd originally planned with no regard to how that might play out in the real world. The waterfall way of doing things isn't always a bad thing. If you're doing a project that's very similar to previous projects with similar target users and similar functions, then you could be wasting your time by researching something that you've successfully delivered before. How does Lean work in practice? Let's revisit the project that I just mentioned. Occasionally, when a team starts a new project, they will sit down and look at the brief. They'll have a brainstorm with coffee and biscuits and post-its and whiteboard markers, and they'll make a big list of potential features or list the things that they think a user might need.
But instead of taking this big list and turning it into the requirements document, we're going to keep all of these for later and then identify the one thing that we want to focus on.
Once we have this question, we build an MVP to answer it. In the real world, this might be a clickable prototype that we've exported from our initial designs that we might have done in Sketch. We put this in front of users that we think are from our target demographic, and we give them a detailed list of tasks that we want them to perform. Going into this test, we'll have already made our predictions about what we want them to do with our prototype. Afterwards, we'll give them a list of questions to answer that we will use to measure their experience. We'll collect qualitative and quantitative evidence and compare the results of this against our predictions. Now we can see if they did what we thought they would.
It's clear to see how gathering this sort of information can give you the upper hand when you're developing your projects. Lean allows you to develop what your users really want, more quickly and ultimately at a lower price. Hopefully that was an interesting insight into the Lean Startup methodology. If you do want to read into this further, you could do worse than to read The Lean Startup by Eric Ries. And if you're interested in learning about how to actually implement these research methods, there's another great book called Hacking Growth by Sean Ellis and Morgan Brown that goes into the specifics. I'll put links in the description. If you've got any comments or questions or want to talk to us about your own project, feel free to get in touch. Contact details are also in the description. That's it for me. See you later.